So Roger, how do you set about analysing a referee's performance?
Well, I think it just doesn't come in 5 minutes. I think that over the years you've got to put the effort into the training side. Clearly, assessors receive a lot of training from the various administrations, Football League, Premier League, etc., etc. But I think that part and parcel of becoming an assessor and assessing referees' performance is that you've had to be a referee yourself. We don't have any assessors in this country who haven't come through the ranks themselves.
Well, that sounds right and proper. So on RefCam, do you have to be an assessor or have been an assessor in order to properly do the RefCam?
Yeah. The team that I've recruited to operate RefCam have all been either national list assessors, some of them have been coaches, they've all been referees at the Premier League, Football League or even international level, and therefore between us we've got a lot of expertise and experience to call upon.
But you're taking it a stage further than the assessor in the stand, because you're actually doing a minute by minute guide, an analysis of the performance for everybody to see. That can't be easy.
It's not easy, but again, when I was working for the PGMOL, and Keith Hackett, who's a colleague of mine now, was my general manager, and we looked at different techniques in terms of coaching and looking at the performance of referees, and we used to look at 10-minute slots in a game and how a referee would cope with the demands over that sort of time scale. What happened after a goal? We'd look very carefully at a 10-minute slot after that.
Because?
Well, goals change players' attitudes, and you need to be absolutely sure in terms of, is that referee feeling the tempo of the game? Has it gone up? Does he need to manage that in a different way than the earlier part of the game when it's been more like a practice match? But another thing that we used to do was this minute by minute analysis. So it comes with training. You have to be looking very much at the game as though you're inside the referee's head, and then you can give an honest opinion as to what's happening. But it is difficult. I think we as former referees look at games quite differently than spectators do,
sure. Whether
they're in the ground itself or whether they're watching on television.
Yeah. And it's just fascinating to watch. I suspect that there is still a cynicism that means people think, well, he's an ex-referee, it's all old pals together, so these guys on RefCam, they're going to support the referee, and even when he's wrong they're not going to say so. In fact, I think you're bending over the other way, aren't you?
Well, I think where we're coming from is that we're fairly unique in that we are an independent set of guys who will tell it as it is. We're not going to play any party lines in terms of how we assess a referee's performance. We'll see it, we'll make our decision, and we'll write it. And at all times we would be honest, we'll be transparent, and we'll be very open in terms of our comments.
And the guys that do the assessment anyway I think referees can get an absolute stinker of a report from the assessor, and you often hear about managers say, well, I've got sympathy with the referee because these assessors in the stand, and they often pass the blame on to the assessor, because the assessor won't allow for what the game calls common sense.
No, that's true, and that's law 18, it always has been, and I'd like to think that in our past and in the present day, referees who still use common sense in the game will get more respect from players and managers and officials than they will if they don't.
But some say the rules are there, or the laws of the game, we should say, are there in black and white. It's not a case of common sense, it's a case of applying the law.
Yes, but if you get the better referees will always adopt a proactive style, and therefore they can nip things in the bud. And once you start doing that with professional players, they'll respect you for doing that, rather than just being reactive, not talking to them. You know, the interpersonal skills that referees need these days are of a very high order, and if you can exercise that, irrespective of whether, you know, lots of the players come from other countries, there's still the opportunity to communicate with them. And if you do that, I firmly believe that you get more respect from players, and as I say, the managers and coaches, than you will if you're just reactive and you're throwing cards around all over the place.
Okay, event management that you're talking about then. You also referred just now to watching a game from a different perspective from everybody else, because none of us go to a game and think, whoa, who's the referee? Let's watch the referee. We don't tend to watch him. As a reporter, it's frustrated me over the years being asked to mark not only both sets of players or both teams out of 10, but the referee as well. I've always argued it's totally impossible. So you're going with tunnel vision though, in fact. You're pretty well watching the team of officials.
Yes, I think that is a skill that you learn over the years. Numerous people have said to me in the past, oh, we had a good referee today because we never noticed him, and I think that's true. But when you get a referee who's in the middle of, let's say, a local derby match, like you get the Sheffield derby matches, you get the Manchester, you get the Merseyside derby match, and others up and down the country, well, the referee is going to be noticed in those sort of games, because you've just referred to the big event. Those are massive events, because it doesn't matter where those individual teams are in that particular league, on the day it's pride and they want to win. So referees will be noticed in those games. From our point of view, we are looking, as I said previously, at the game from the referee's angle. What is he doing in that game to keep control? What are the skills that he's using to ensure that he brings that event to a successful conclusion? And that's the sort of thing that we're looking at. On RefCam, yes, we're looking at those games on television. If you're an assessor, then you have a position in the stand, generally speaking in the director's box. More often than not, it's above the halfway line, so you can see the game, both halves equally, and they're making the notes as they go along, and then they've got to transfer those notes into a report. We at RefCam are minute by minute analysis, like you say, and that's hard work, but we believe that you know, that's well worth the effort, and we're getting a lot of feedback from people who are replying to our invites, and they want to see more of it.
Yeah.
So so long may that happen.
You mentioned the assessor's view, and he's pretty well on the halfway line. He's set a little bit of a distance back. We've chosen specifically to conduct this interview from the manager's and coach's view. We're looking out across a football pitch here, low down. Now then, could you properly judge a referee and a set of officials from here? Absolutely not.
And I think when you look at the way that coaches and or managers are now positioning themselves, they've certainly got somebody up in the stand. They're communicating through their telephones. Sometimes it's the manager. I've noticed Nigel Pearson over the last few games, he's now sitting up in the stand for a good portion of the game.
Steve McLaren's done something similar at Derby.
Absolutely, and I believe that in terms of looking at patterns of play, etc., etc., they've got that bird's eye view, and that's got to be more advantageous to them than eye level at the pitch, when, you know, it's very, very difficult to pick out those sort of things.
Certainly as a journalist, I don't think I could properly cover a game from this position. And maybe there's a trend in reverse now where from the days of everybody standing or every manager being visible, and it's part of the show. I think that's what's happening, where they are going to retreat back into the stand and take that view. Do you see that happening?
I do think that you know, the modern manager will understand what the benefits are of having that bird's eye view. It doesn't have to be at the back of the stand. It can just be an elevated position, as it is at Old Trafford, for instance. When you look back at the successful era that they had under Sir Alex Ferguson, he had that you know, higher level built above the old entrance to the ground for that very purpose.
But for now, the focus, big match focus of the TV cameras is almost as much on here and the touchline just that we're looking at there as it is on the field of play. And that raises another, on ref cam or an assessor at a game, certainly the referee in the middle and the fourth official, that's all part of what you're trying to illuminate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring that to you know, the real fans that are watching football, whether it's on television, at the local ground, it doesn't matter. But we're highlighting the sort of things that go on in the technical area, the role of the fourth official, the sort of things that they do off the field of play to keep managers and coaches under control, because very often the antics of those people do transfer onto the field of play, and then the referee's got a problem that he wasn't bargaining for. So, you know, we're bringing all that to the spectators, the fans, and in some instances it's quite interesting that the coaches and the managers are watching what we're doing, and they are quite surprised in terms of some of their own antics, because they don't know they're doing them.
And I suspect that one or two others are playing to the gallery.
Absolutely.
In what they do.
Absolutely.
Well, no names, no pack drill, but
No.
I've heard of one or two sort of when those furious exchanges are going on between a manager and a fourth official. I heard one story where apparently the manager was saying to the fourth official, "I've just got to make it look good for the fans.
Absolutely.
I've got to make it look like I'm angry."
Yes. I think we've all been fourth officials. I certainly have in the past, and you know, stories like that abound. You know, where you're going for your holidays and all this, that and the other, but you swing your arms around a little bit and it looks good from the board's point of view. Yeah. But no, I think that the way we are going on ref cam, it can only bring more education to the real football fan, and that's what we're after. And
also, when the playing side of the game, the players and managers just have a look at it, they can just see how objective refereeing professionals are being.
Yes.
And they're not hedging the criticism.
No, we're being honest. As I said earlier in the interview, we are transparent, we are open, and therefore we'll tell it as we see it.
Marvellous. Thanks for telling it as you see it today from this position as well, Roger. Thank you. Cheers.
Nice to see you. Cheers.